Well, Jack Kerouac was a hero of mine back from my college days. So when David called and said, would you be interested in doing a reading of On the Road? I thought, wow. At the Strand bookstore, I said, wow. The iconic Strand bookstore.
I'm David Deblinger, and this event is produced by The Village Trip and HB Studio, where I teach acting. I am honored that everybody's here, but also especially Mr. Amram, who had such a deep connection with the material.
I just say, when I met Jack in 1956 at a Bring Your Own Bottle party, he handed me 2 pieces of paper and said, play for me. And he began to read. I had no idea what he was doing, but it just felt so good. And we became friends. These people from HB Studios, which is concentrated on acting as an art form, not just a business, will be recreating Jack's words on paper and making them alive.
We'll start off with, ladies and gentlemen, Mercedes Ruehl.
The only people for me are the mad ones, the ones who are mad to live, mad to talk, mad to be saved, the ones who never yawn or say a commonplace thing, but burn, 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 like fabulous yellow Roman candles exploding like spiders across the stars, and in the middle you see the blue center light pop and everybody goes, ah!
In the car, as we drove back to his old house, he said, mankind will someday realize that we are actually in contact with the dead and with the other world, with whatever it is. Right now, we could predict, if we only exerted through enough mental will, what is going to happen within the next 100 years, and be able to take steps to avoid all kinds of catastrophes. When a man dies, he undergoes a mutation in his brain that we know nothing about, which will be very clear someday if scientists get on the ball. The bastards right now are only interested in see if they could blow up the world.
And he started telling the story of what he did in LA on the way over in every possible detail. How he visited a family, had dinner, talked to the father, the sons, the sisters, what they looked like, what they ate, their furnishings, their thoughts, their interests, their very souls.
Then I got fever and became delirious and unconscious. I looked up out of the dark swirl of my mind, and I knew I was on a bed 8,000 feet above sea level, on a roof of the world, and I knew that I had lived a whole life and many others in the poor automistic husk of my flesh, and had all the dreams.
Dean suddenly became tender. Now, damn it, look here, all of you. We all must admit that everything is fine, and there's no need in the world to worry, and in fact, we should realize what it would mean to us to understand that we're not really worried about anything. Am I right? We all agreed.
This was the sad story of that afternoon. All kinds of tremendous complications arose that night when Dean and I went to stay with this Okie family. Mother was a wonderful woman in jeans who drove coal trucks in winter mountains to support her kids. Her children were wonderful. Eldest was a boy who wasn't around that summer, but in a camp in the mountains. Next was a lovely 13-year-old daughter who wrote poetry and picked flowers in the fields and wanted to grow up to be an actress in Hollywood.
Only a guy who spent 5 years in jail can go to such maniacal, helpless extremes, beseeching at the portals of the soft source, mad with a completely physical realization of the origins of life bliss. Prison is where you promise yourself the right to live.
We drove on. Across the immense plain of night lay the first Texas town, Dalhart, which I crossed in 1947. It lay glimmering on the dark floor of the earth 50 miles away. The land by moonlight was all mesquite and waste. On the horizon was the moon. She fattened. She grew huge and rusty. She mellowed and rolled till the morning star contended and dews began to blow in our windows. And still we rolled.
When I first read this at 20, it was in my soul too. All these excitements and thrills and needing to start out on a life of adventure and Many years later, I had my own 2 sons, and I learned further and more deeply about the poetry of young men, about the things they'll tell you and the things they keep to themselves. There is an endless beauty in the poetry of young men.
When I was asked to put together a reading of this book, I was like, yes!
It is music. It is the most original voice, and it's just thrilling to read. And I think even if you've already read it, it's worth a second read. It's a great book.